Hi, I'm Prudy Vanier, a member of the Society of Decorative Painters, and recently I donated a pattern for this piece for early registration for membership. So today I'm going to do a fast video to show you how to paint those little elves. I've been painting them for years. I have all kinds of designs and they're all the same. A really fun thing to get started in doing. So these are base coated with this palette, and I'm using this easy palette to finish them up. Like I said, they're all painted the same palette. I use DecoArt paints. I like acrylic, but I think this whole thing could be converted to oil if you like. Let's see, I'm going to start with the faces. They're based a flesh color, and I shade with a terracotta. Easy shading, it's just against the hats. That's it. And this one will go right up around here. We can add some cheeks. I'm using a medium pink color. You can also mix your red coat color with your flesh color to get a good, for any Santa, to get a good cheek color. Okay, first I'll do this nose to develop the nose, and some cheek on this side and this side. And this one, the front of the nose. I'm always very careful to leave a flesh color between the nose and the cheek. Otherwise it all runs together and you can't tell which part is which. Okay, that's all I need there. Now, we'll let that dry a little bit. I'll check it to make sure these are blended out a little. Yep. And I'm taking a look at it and seeing where it needs a little repair, a little here. This looks good. Okay, so while that's setting up and drying, I'm going to shade the coat. The coats and hats, I use a dark orange. I used to use red, but I like the dark orange because, first of all, it's only one coat. And by the time we put the neon reds on, it turns out looking just like a Santa coat, regardless of what color you do. So let me show you. I'll start with and I think this is antique maroon, which is the darkest red. And I'm going to shade where next to where the fur is going to be, and then kind of down the back of the hat. Same with this one. And down the back. On the coat, I'm going to shade to form the sleeves. And then usually behind the beard. And the back of the coat, because generally when I paint an elf like this, I make the light coming towards the face. So the back of him would have a little bit of this dark, dark red for shadow. In the front view, I'm going to shade the sleeves where they go into the coat. And this side. And I'll shade around the beard. Kind of walk it out because we don't want it to look like it's outlined. Go this way. Okay, I'm looking over where the faces are dry. I think this one's got a little too much shade on it, so I'm just going to fix it and go over it with a little bit more flesh. Keep that shading just around the hat. All right. So I go back and forth and fix, and, you just have to play with it, make sure everything turns out all right. Mittens. Little tiny bit of black green. They are always Hauser light green. DecoArt Hauser light green. And I shade them where they go into the coat with a little black green. Just walk it down a little bit. Just a little. I'm going here and there and everywhere, so one thing dries while I work on another thing. Socks. I like to do something with the socks. Once in a while, I'll make the boots all the way go up right to the coat, but it's fun to add some color to it. So most of the time I give them socks. The only thing I do to them is stripe them with the Hauser Light Green, which is a little bit of whimsy and also moves that Hauser Light Green around. So it's in more than one spot on your piece, on your subject matter. And clean up my edges a little bit. And the boots. The boots, I did them two ways here. I did one with the toe that's curled, and those are neutral gray. And I did this one to be a boot, you know, just a big, heavy, clunky boot. So they just need a little bit of definition, so I'll go back to my black green and put in a little float to make a heel and a sole on this one. Get a little more. And I can also add some lace marks with a liner brush. Now, a liner brush that's an acrylic liner brush, if you flatten the edge, you can get a super duper little line and work it like a knife. There's that one. And here's this one. Either boot, either style. Just add a little bit of detail, but make it super simple because it is a caricature. Okay? This one probably could use, oops, too much water. Little sole. Put some. If you wanted to, you could curl that a little more too. Let's do it just for fun. Let's see. My base coat color is neutral gray, so I can just add more. For the fun of it. Just depends on what you like. Now, sometimes this gets a little messed up here, you know, from adding stripes and everything. What you can do, just take your liner brush with your background color and clean up your edges. There. Okay, I'm looking, let's see, let's go back to the face, and we'll use a little bit of white and add some eyebrows to this guy. I like it, one little stroke to go off the hard line of the silhouette, just so it breaks up that line. And he needs a highlight and a highlight. This one. Oh. Some bushy eyebrows. And a highlight, and a highlight, and a highlight. Okay. The red and the shading is really dry. So now what I like to do is use this fantastic, it's Americana Neons. I use the red, or you could use pink, either one. Just give it some good highlight. And kind of blend it down into the shade. It doesn't take much. Sleeve needs a little bit. And I could put in a little bit back here off the shading. And you know, it's a velvety coat, so it can have a little texture. You don't have to strive really hard to make it smooth. It just adds more to it if it's got some texture. And it'll blend. Now when that dries, I'm going to see how it dries, because maybe I'll go add a little more. Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. This guy needs some. Of course, on the hat. And some down here in the corner. Easy. Easy to do. I could add a button if I wanted to, but I'm not going to on this one. You don't want to get too detailed, like I said, because it's a caricature, but a button here and there would be okay. Now, I am going to add, I'm going to use a long liner. This is a zero liner. This is a long liner, number 1. I like it because when you thin the paint for the beard, it goes further. I thin it and then really load my brush. Not that it's dripping, it's just filled in there pretty well. And you just need just a few lines, make them cross, because remember, this is a cartoon. You don't want this elaborate formal beard like you would find on a formal painting. Just a few. And if the base coat line shows underneath, that's okay. And let's get this one. Notice I'm doing the beard first because the mustache has to overlap. Oops. Let's see. And I like to put a few over, crisscross. And now the mustache. It can be a little heavier. Last thing we have to do is the fur. And I like this. It's a texture brush. Scharf makes it. It's stiff. And what you can do is double load. So somewhere on here I thought I had some burnt umber, but I guess I don't. So let me put some on. I'm going to load it first, burnt umber, and pat it in like this. Then wipe my brush out, but it's not cleaned out. It's just got most of the burnt umber out. I'm going to side load with some white, and where it's going to be the brightest is where I pounce first. And I want that around the face. And then sort of blend it back. So it's so easy to make your fur shaded. Plus it gives a little texture and detail as it goes into the face a little bit. So let me do this one. A little bit of fuzzies over his hard line on his face. And some on the fur back here. And I'll wipe it out a little bit, side load with some white, and where I want it the brightest is right up in here. And I don't want two distinct lines, so you have to blend it back just a tad. There. Now, the eyes. I hope this pen works. Let me take a look. Yes. Okay, everything's dry here. So I am going to put 2 eyes, one here. And remember, it's just a line, so don't make them too big. No highlight, just that. And this one, I want to make a point. The way you do the slant of the line changes your focal point. So if this guy had something going on up here that he wanted to look at, I would go like this. And see what that does? He's looking that way. If he was doing something, the object was down here, I'd just slant it the other way. If he's looking straight, like this one, just make him straight. Okay, did I forget anything? Oh, so easy. And that's about it. I hope you enjoy painting this thing, since you'll get it with your membership. And you can do any kind of elf you can imagine in any of these patterns. Take a look now, and I'll say goodbye.